Welcome, everyone, to Before You Graduate, career advice every new dentist needs. My name is Andrea Medina Vera. I'm the early career education specialist here at CDSPI, and I'm based out of Calgary, Alberta. I'll be hosting today's session. Very happy to introduce Dr. Sanj Mohanta. She is a general dentist, volunteer, speaker, writer, and founder of the New Dentist Study Club. Throughout her career, she's worked in public health as an associate in education and now owns a practice and is active in advocacy work. Safe to say she's seen a lot of different sides to the profession. So, Dr. Sanj, thank you so much for being here. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you for the great introduction, a very kind introduction, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so today we're going to talk about my career, but this isn't about me. This is about you, because I'm hoping that you're going to learn some ways to have the best career you can just from learning about my career. So my name is Sanj Mohanta. And I'd like to start with this. This is a DM I got on Instagram, and it says, "What makes a dentist happy?" So she was talking about how she's a new grad. She just graduated last year from U of T, and she said that a lot of her friends are talking about how much money they make, their production, what type of procedures they're doing. And she's like, at the end, she's like, are we just talking about this because of increasing debt, or is the whole profession a little too difficult to be satisfied? Like, why are we so focused on the money aspect and not talking about how fulfilling dentistry is? And I'm going to bring this back to you at the end. So I'd like to know how what you would do to answer this DM on her question was, what makes any dentist happy? And we're going to talk about my career journey, life after dental school, advocacy. I'm going to give some pro tips along the way, and then we're going to have some questions and answers. My favorite part. So, my career journey, first of all, I never planned on going to dental school. It was an accident. I basically got into it because I originally wanted to become, a university professor, do research, teach, be in academia, but I did my first research project in fourth year undergrad, and I realized I hated research. So I just went to my guidance counselor at university, and I'm like, what can I do with my degree that doesn't require research? And she pulled out a filing cabinet, and there's only one thing in it, and that was the application to write the DAT. So I wrote it, did well, got into dental school first try. But then when I was in dental school, I hated it. First of all, U of T was so tough. The instructors were so mean. I just couldn't wait to get out. And I thought things would get better after dental school, but they didn't. So I did what most grads do, and that's associate. And then so I thought, oh, this is going to be so great. I don't have those mean U of T instructors over my shoulder, but I wasn't happy. And I thought it was the office. So what did I do? I just switched to another office. I wasn't happy there either. So then I just kept jumping from office to office, kept thinking, okay, it's just the environment. I just have to find the right office for me. And then I got into teaching, and I thought, this is fantastic. It's kind of what I want to do in the first place, right? Like when I want to get into academia and teach and do research. So I love teaching, but I still actually miss the dentistry. So I kind of had to figure out like how I'm going to have a career doing clinical and being happy in clinical. So then I got into public health. And the way I got into it is my son, who was like around like 4 at the time, and my daughter, who was around 3 at the time, could tell I wasn't happy. So I'm going to get into that later. So I went into public health. I was in public health for 17 years. I thought I found my dream job. This is where I'm going to stay forever. But a couple of years ago, I said to myself, there is no way I'm going to spend the last 10 years of my career in public health. So I made a change and I went back into associating. And then after a few months of associating and hating it yet again, I thought to myself, how am I going to be happy as a dentist? Just like that young dentist, sent me a DM. So what I did was I wrote down what my perfect day would look like, my perfect work day. What time would I start? What time would I stop? What would my staff be like? What procedures would I do? What materials? It's just everything about that day. And then when I looked at it, I thought, well, the only way I'm going to have that perfect day is if I start my own office. So, which I did. I decided to start my own office. It's going to open in July, and it's called Watermelon Dental. Check it out on Instagram. You can see, right now it's under construction. You can see like all the drywall and electrical everywhere. So check it out. You can see the whole journey there. So my pro tip is make goals and write them down. Like seriously, it's as easy as that. It's writing down what your perfect day would be, writing down what your goals are, like that you want to have a practice in 5 years, that you want to get married in 5 years. Because let me tell you something, I wrote down my goals for my personal life. I said within 5 years of graduating, I want to get married, get a dog, get a house, get a son, get a daughter, all within 5 years. And guess what? All of that happened, even in that order. And it's all because I wrote it down. Because once you write it down, then every decision I made, I was like, is that getting me closer to my goal or further away from my goal? So my career is all over the place. Like some people think that my career is commendable because of everything that I've done. I would say that my career is a hot mess. It is all over the place. And I thought if I wrote down what my perfect day would look like, what my career goals would look like, when I first graduated, I would have had that practice, you know, 20 years ago, not now. And it would have been a lot cheaper and a lot easier, and I'd have a lot more years to build up my practice if I wrote down my goals. So that is one of my pro tips. Okay, so life after dental school. So there's a picture of me graduation day outside of Convocation Hall at U of T. That is the last picture that I have with my dad, because he died soon after that from colon cancer. 2 months after he died, my son was born. So it was like this really interesting thing where I saw someone die and then saw someone get born, my son, all within 2 months, all in the same hospital. And that's when I realized, hey, you have no control over how you're going to die or when, but you have every control over how you're going to live your life. And at this time, when my dad was dying, I was dying inside in my career because I hated dentistry. I wanted to leave. I was looking at other careers. I was even thinking about going back to school and becoming a medical doctor. But after he died and my son was born, I was like, I actually kind of missed the drill in my hand after the first month of mat leave. And then that's when I realized, hey, like dentistry is the right job for me. I just have to find the right path in dentistry. So I stuck with it. I stuck with dentistry. And this is one of the things you have to think about is what's your personal plan? Financial, marriage, children, home, lifestyle. So like I said, I had a personal plan when it came to things like my family and when I was going to pay off my mortgage. I didn't have a plan for my career. And the reason why is I thought finally the hustle is over once I graduated from dental school. I don't have to hustle for the grades anymore. But I realized like you still have to keep hustling. The hustle never stops. In fact, you should think about your career and your personal plan and think about how that can intertwine. So this is a picture of my son and daughter when they were 4 and 3. And at this time, I was trying to balance it all, work and career, but my kids could tell that I was not happy. So much so that when my son was 4, he looked at me and he's like, Mommy, he saw me like getting ready for work one morning and he's like, Mommy, where are you going? And I said, going to work. And he said, why are you going to work? And I said, to make money. And he said, is money more important than us? And I was devastated. because I'm their only mother and I was leaving them for a job that I hated. So I thought, if I'm going to leave my kids, I have to leave them for someone who needs me more than they do. And I thought, those people who need me more than they do are underprivileged, the people who can't get dental care anywhere else. So the next day, I looked in the Ontario Dentist Journal to see if there are any jobs in public health. And there was one. I applied for it and I got the job and I spent 17 years in public health. And I loved it. I loved treating people who couldn't get help anywhere else. But then the day that the CDCP opened was the day I left public health because I thought public health is everywhere. So I went from associating to teaching to public health and now associating again, now practice ownership. Now there's a lot of different things you can do in your career. You can even specialize, but you also have to think about what environment do you thrive in? Because there were some associateships where I felt so uncomfortable that I wasn't myself. I also did really bad dentistry. And then if I was in an environment where I felt really comfortable, appreciated, valued, I felt like I could ask questions, I could take some risks, make mistakes, I was treated well, then I actually did better as a dentist. So think about the type of workplace on top of your goal, what goals you want to achieve. So there are tons of different things you can do in your career. Like I just listed a whole bunch of things. Like you can work in dental industry, research, public health, but you can do them all. Or you can just write down your goals, like I said, and think about like, what is it that you really like to do? And if you want to be a practice owner and you think, wow, that's so expensive that there's no way I can do that until like maybe 10 years from now when I've paid off my student loans and my mortgage, that's fine. Have that goal for 10, 15, 20 years from now. But when you're in, say you're associating, when you're in your associateship, be strategic. Pick associateships where you can learn the business part. Pick associateships where a practice owner may want to partner or may sell the office to you. So be strategic even when you're building up to your ultimate goal. So another pro tip is what do you like to do and where do you want to do it? So it's not just about the city you want to live in, but what type of office. Because for me, the office has to have windows. I don't like to have like a chaotic, frenetic, fast-paced office. I like to have time to sit and talk to patients. I like to do basic dentistry. I don't do cosmetics or ortho or implants. And I like to work with kids. So I need to work in an office where there are a lot of kids, where the people want basic dentistry, where there are windows, where there is free parking, where there's a big operatory. Like these are all the things I want to do. So those are non-negotiables. So when you're looking for the place you want to work at, have non-negotiables. Just like when you're buying a house, like if you have a dog, you wouldn't buy a house that doesn't have a fenced backyard. So if you're the type of person who likes to spend time with patients, getting to know them, their family, then you need to find an office that sees all members of the family, that gives you lots of time, that's not going to push you to be faster and cut corners. So you have to write all this down. So it'll be very easy for you to figure out where you should work. Okay, what do you enjoy doing? So I put a picture of me with my dog. I love hiking. I love spending time with my dog. So I need to have hours where I can walk my dog in the morning and then as soon as I get home, walk her again. So I don't want to work 12-hour shifts because she's not going to get that evening walk. So yes, I use my dog as a reason why I like to work 8 to 4. So you have to also think about like if you play softball every Thursday night, don't pick a job where you're not going to where you have to work Thursday nights. So the things that you enjoy doing, as small as that is, that softball game that you play every once in a while, that's important to you. So you have to make sure that you have time to do it. All right. Now we're going to go into all the other things that I've done besides clinical dentistry. In high school, I did a lot of advocacy, community outreach, volunteering. So think about the things you like doing in high school and do them because those are the things that are really important to you because you did them at a time when no one cared. You did them because you like to do them. So I go to Queen's Park. I speak with politicians. I'm part of the Ontario Dental Association's political contact network. And what I did was I advocated to keep fluoride in the water in the Region of Peel, which Region of Peel makes up more than 1 million people. And no one else wanted to advocate for this because of the anti-fluoridationists were very aggressive. And I'm like, hey, water fluoridation is the right thing to do. If no one else is going to stand up for it, I'm going to stand up for it. So I was the only one who stood up to advocate for community water fluoridation. And because of that, 100% of the counselors, when they voted in favor of community water fluoridation. And it's because of all the advocacy I did a year before that, meeting with the counselors, going to their meetings, delegating. So do the right thing. Like, like, don't feel like you can't speak up. You can. We as professionals, we have a platform. People listen to us. People respect us. So do the right thing and fight for what's best for profession and the public. The funny thing is that now, people were protesting fluoride. Now it shows that fluoride actually makes you smarter. It doesn't affect your IQ. So keep advocating for water fluoridation and fluoride in the office. So access to care. Jagmeet Singh used to be my MPP, and I used to go to his office in Brampton and his constituency office in Queen's Park, and I'll talk to him about improving public dental programs for adults and improving the public dental programs that are existing. I thought he was sick of hearing me because every time I went in, he'd be like, Doc, I know what you're going to talk about, public dental programs. You don't have to say anymore. So I thought he didn't care. But then when he became national NDP leader, what was the first thing he talked about? Dental care. So there's a picture of Jagmeet in my office when I worked in public health, and a picture of me and my colleagues presenting thousands of signatures for our petition to create a dental program for adults. I also like doing public oral health presentations, for example, like Brushomania, going to classrooms and doing oral health presentations. I'm also part of the Ontario Dental Association's Remote Areas program, where I go up north for 2 weeks to work in an Indigenous community in Northern Ontario. So that is something you can do as long as you have at least 2 years of experience as a dentist. You can sign up and you can go up north, and it's a paid position, and you get to help people who don't have a dentist. I'm also part of the Halton Peel Dental Association. We do free dental days. I love giving back. And I also volunteer with Filling the Gap Dental Outreach. It's a charity in Toronto. We have 2 clinics, one in Scarborough and one in Rexdale. And we provide very low cost dentistry to people who aren't on public or private dental plans. So they don't qualify for CDCP. That's because they're refugees or they're homeless or new to Canada. I also do international dental outreach, where about once a year I go down south to the Caribbean with 1,000 Smiles, and we provide free dental care to people who can't afford it. I'm also involved in organized dentistry, so I'm proud to volunteer with the Ontario Dental Association. And I also write articles. There's one that says, All I Really Need to Know I Learned After Dental School. I also started the New Dentist Study Club, so I really value education. So my pro tip, so after all that, it wasn't to show off about all the things that I do. It's just to show you all the things that you can do. What I wish I did as a new grad is I wish I joined a local dental society sooner. I waited until like 15 years after I graduated to join my local dental association, the Halton Peel Dental Association, which is like a local chapter of the Ontario Dental Association. So when you join that, you get to meet the other specialists, get to meet the other dentists around you. They become your new friends. Like you're not gonna be as close to your classmates after you graduate because everyone's in different parts of the country. But it's those dentists who are local that you can meet with for dinner. Like those are gonna be your new friends. Another pro tip, I don't have any back issues. I don't go for massages or physiotherapy or chiropractor. And that's because I exercise and stretch every single day. I do yoga, I do weights, I run, I I'm a member with Good Life. So you're an athlete. The dentist is an athlete. So you have to train like an athlete and work where you can be yourself. So I like to do community outreach. So I like to help people who need me the most. I like to have good relationships. I like to be in an environment where I can grow. So when you're in that environment, you're going to thrive. People are going to be attracted to you. Assistants are going to want to work with you. Patients are going to want to see you, and they're going to refer your friends when you work in a place where you can be yourself. Okay, so now we're back to what makes a dentist happy. So how would you answer this question when someone says, what is it that makes dentists happy? When I talk to my friends, they're just talking about money. So I noticed that there's something here about like the money part. It's a number, is something that you can quantify. So we went through our whole education where someone else judged our success. Someone else created a rubric of what would make us a good person, a good student, number one. So that was grades. So we used to, you know, we used to work really hard to get the best grades, the best DAT scores, get all of our clinical requirements. Everything was around numbers. And then when we graduated, we're so used to that that we're like, okay, we don't have grades anymore. What number should we use? So then we started talking about, okay, I could look at how much production I make every day, how much money I make a year, how many veneers I've done. So then we started competing that way. So another tip to you is now that you're an adult, now that you don't have someone telling you how you're supposed to achieve, what you're supposed to achieve, grading you, now that you have no one grading you, you have to create your own way to judge your success. So for me, it's all about how I feel. So at the end of the day, I do look at my production report to make sure that everything's accurate. But then I think, how did I feel? Because if I was really rushed, I'm not going to feel good at the end of the day. If I was yelling at my assistant, I don't yell at my assistant, but if my assistant can tell that, I was really pushing him, then and at the end of the day, I can see his face and he looks exhausted and he looks like he didn't do a good job, then I'm not happy. If my patients feel rushed, if they didn't get good outcomes, if they're complaining, I'm not going to feel happy. So it doesn't matter what that number is on the production report. It's like, how do I feel? Do I feel fulfilled at the end of the day? Am I doing dentistry the way I want? Am I having the relationships that I want? I'm I'm at the office to create the best experience for my patient, the best experience for me and my assistant. So at the end of the day, I need to make sure that happens. I don't care if I hit the production quota that the principal dentist has set for me. And you know what? If you make do dentistry the way you want, you are going to hit the production quotas. The money's going to come because you and your assistant are going to work fantastically together. Patients are going to come back. The treatment's going to work out and you're going to make the money you want to make. So don't worry about the money. Just think about like, how are you going to judge your success at the end of the day? So for me, it's how I feel. For you, it can be something else. So here's my homework for you. I want everyone to talk about like, what do you enjoy doing the most? So that's not just things like, oh, I enjoy doing crowns, I enjoy extractions. It's also things like, oh, I enjoy teaching others. I enjoy like having fun at work. I enjoy walking my dog. I enjoy going to the gym before I go to work. So you have to think about all those things because you need to put all of those things in every single day, or else you're not going to be happy at the end of the day if you don't get that workout, if you don't get to walk your dog, if you don't do any extractions at work because the patient, it's not the patient population for you. So write down everything that you enjoy doing and making sure that all of that, happens most days. The second thing is what are your values? So I used to think that, okay, my values would be like I was looking for noble things like, oh, community service and family and kindness. But then I thought, well, values are can be judged based on like what do you do on your day off? When you have like no one has like any expectations on you. You're just doing what you enjoy. And like for me, like I know like I'm doing a lot of things related to education, speaking, writing, my study club. I'm reading articles every single day on dentistry. So obviously education is one of my values. Community service is one of my values. I love helping people who need it the most. So I was like, those are my values. So I have to make sure that I can do those values. I can, those values are incorporated in my career. And you have to write down your values as well. So if family is important to you, do you have time to spend with your family because of your job? If fun is one of your important values, do you work at a fun workplace where you can like dance and listen to music and crack jokes and laugh at work? And also like what are your personal goals? So if you want to get married, if you want to have kids, like do that before age 35. And the other things like specialization, practice ownership. If you can also do that in your 30s, that's great. But like for me, I focus on my family first and then focus on my career later. So think about like how you want to intertwine your personal and professional goals. So if you write all these down, it becomes really easy what you have to do. And like I said before, every single decision you make is now going to make you think, is this going to make me go closer to my goals or further away? Will this, week-long implant course in Guatemala take me closer to my goals or further away? Because if doing implant dentistry wasn't on your list of your goals, then why are you taking that course with your friend on implant dentistry? And here is my contact information. You can DM me on Instagram at Dr. Sanj Mohanta or email me sanjuktamohanta@hotmail.com. I'd just like to thank you all for joining us in this presentation. If you have any questions afterwards, always send me a DM. Happy to chat with you.
Thanks so much. That was super insightful, and we really appreciate you taking the time to share your experience with everyone. And we'll also have some time for questions at the end. So if anything comes up in the meantime, feel free to pop anything up in the chat. So next up, I'd like to introduce my colleagues, Julie Berthium and Michael Tyler. Julie is an insurance advisor based in Toronto, and Michael's an investment planning advisor based in Winnipeg. Julie will go over what happens with your insurance after graduation, and Michael will touch on some financial planning considerations as you take your next steps. And like I said, then afterwards we'll open it up for Q&A. If you have anything for Dr. Sanj or any one of us, we are happy to answer it. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Julie.
Thanks, Andrea. Hi, everyone. Just echoing everybody's comments here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. So I hope most of you or all of you have signed up for the CDSPI insurance offer that we offer for students. If you haven't, you can scan the QR code on the screen here and sign up today. Now, CDSPI and the various provincial and territorial dental associations have made it easy for you to get the financial protection you need with our no-cost insurance package. You can join thousands of Canadian dental students and enroll today, and it will be at absolutely no cost to you until December 31st of your graduating year, so later this year. Just a reminder, the deadline in which to apply for the non-medical undergraduate package is your fast approaching graduation date. So don't waste any time. Make sure you get that taken care of. Now, there really is no catch in this insurance package. It is a win-win situation. You get insurance, it doesn't cost you anything for now, and you are never locked into any contract or obligation with us. This is one of the ways that CDSPI gives back to the dental community by investing in your future, because we know how important this insurance is, and we want to make sure that you get the protection you need no matter what may happen. So again, you can scan the QR code and apply online. You will get insurance effective immediately. So you are going to get 100,000 of life insurance, 100,000 accidental death and dismemberment, 1,000 in disability, and up to $15,000 coverage for your dental tools under our Triple Guard office insurance plan. So if we move on, most common question I get is, what happens to your insurance after graduation? So as a student, your relationship with CDSPI is just beginning. The savings, solutions, education, and advice continue well beyond graduation. And as I said, if you've only ever done the non-medical undergraduate package, then as of your graduation date, your amounts of insurance that were mentioned on the previous slide will automatically upgrade to the double up package. So that's the blue column that you see on the screen here, without anything further being required from you. However, it's never too soon to upgrade and make a good decision for your future. You can apply for the medically underwritten optional graduate package. Now, as long as you have the undergraduate package by graduation date, you do have until December 31st to upgrade to the optional graduate package. But if you are interested, please do not wait. The advantage to doing it sooner rather than later is you're going to do the medical underwriting now. If you wait until December, for example, what if your health changes between now and then? And what if you cannot get approved? So don't wait, invest in your future now and get that optional graduate package. So it's pretty simple to do. First step, complete the application. If you are under age 40, what we'll do when we get your application is we'll first send it to the insurance company for their initial review. Depending on your medical history and your answers to the medical questions, it's possible the application might be the extent of the medical underwriting. However, the insurer certainly reserves the right to request a paramedical appointment. If that's the case, we would have a nurse contact you to set that up. There's no cost to you involved in that. If approved, then once your optional graduate package will replace your existing insurance and give you those higher amounts in that orange column there. So you see 500,000 life, 500,000 accident, and 3,500 disability. Now, keep in mind that most dentists need far more coverage than this. This is just to get you started. And since you are likely going to need far more coverage than this, after all, 3,500 in disability is only equal to about a $70,000 income. My advice is to definitely apply for the optional package. Get the most that you can at the discounted rates. Because if you only do the non medical one and then a year from now you call me and you want to upgrade, even if it's still within those same amounts in the optional package, those additional amounts will be at regular cost. Now, certainly we do offer far more higher amounts of coverage than what's listed here. This is just to get you started with. Now, no matter which package you end up with, it will be at no cost until December 31st of this year. It will renew automatically January 1st, but then you are going to receive a significant new graduate discount. So the life insurance and the accidental death and dismemberment, those will be half price for the next 3 years. And the disability will receive a lifetime 15% discount. Now, one of the other common questions I get is, what happens if you are going to be doing a post-grad program or a residency afterwards? Well, you can, within the disability policy, put it on hold during your residency or post-grad. Putting it on hold means you do not pay for it while it's on hold, but you also need to understand you don't have access to the coverage to put in a claim if something happens. But then when you are done your program, we simply reactivate the coverage and you still retain your new grad discount. So no matter what your situation might be after graduation, please give us a call and let's discuss what your options are. So if we're going to compare, sometimes people will ask me, why CDSPI versus any other company? I want to concentrate mostly on the disability policy with this. And as I'm sure you are aware, there have been quite a few changes to the disability market for dentists in the last few years. So in 2022, Manulife decided to stop offering disability entirely. They just don't do it anymore. And in 2024, Canada Life decided to stop offering own occupation to dentists. But that is such an incredibly vital, important feature for dentists that I would never suggest you have a policy that does not include it. And as you can see on the chart here, CDSPI, because dentists are our only clients and it's so important for you, we automatically include not only the own occupation feature, but also HIV and hepatitis in our policy at no extra charge. As far as I know, CDSPI is currently the only one left that does still offer own occupation for dentists. So if you are looking around, please make sure you ask this question. Now, we do offer much higher amounts of coverage than perhaps some other companies, up to a maximum of 25,000 a month in coverage for disability. And another nice feature on our plan is that we do not have a coordination of benefits clause. Now, what that means in, everyday English, it means that if you have a claim, then at the time of claim, we are not, as long as it's a total disability, not just a partial disability, we are not going to ask you for proof of income, and we are not going to take into consideration any other policies you might have elsewhere. As long as the disability is medically justified, you simply get your benefit. With most, this is rather rare. I mean, I've been doing this for over 20 years and I've never come across another disability policy that has this. Most of them do have a coordination of benefits clause. So at the time of claim, they are going to ask you for proof of income. They are going to take into consideration any other disability policies you have elsewhere. Now, the only time this becomes a problem is if you don't have enough income to justify both policies. Whereas the CDSPI one will pay out in full, the other policy may claw back and reduce the benefit to only match what your income allows. Now, even if you have enough income to justify both policies, you still have those extra hoops of having to jump through to provide your proof of income, to disclose other insurance policies. And being disabled is stressful enough. Why do you want extra hoops to have to jump through? But if you ever have a question about your CDSPI insurance, please ask a CDSPI advisor. This is because all of the products that we offer are exclusive to CDSPI. No other outside advisor has access to them. And I've unfortunately seen it happen where a dentist was asking a non CDSPI advisor questions about their CDSPI product. And this outside advisor, because they don't have access to our products, unfortunately gave the wrong information. And the dentist ended up making an ill advised decision with regards to their insurance. Remember, all the advisors at CDSPI, we work on salary, not commission. So we have no ulterior motives in the advice that we give to you other than what is best for you, and just to be upfront and truthful about your needs and your insurance. So please, if you have a question, we're here to answer them anytime. Give us a call, send us an email. We'd be happy to connect with you and help guide you through this path. So I think that's it for me. And Mike, if you want to take over.
You bet. Thanks very much, Julie. So let's start with a fun topic, something that's probably very real for all of you, debt. So most dental grads in Canada are coming out with about 250 or 200, pardon me, to 300,000 in student debt. And depending on your situation, tuition, cost of living, how long you've been in school, some of you may be closer to 300 or even 350,000 plus. So before we go any further, it's important to understand what actually happens to that debt when you graduate, because your line of credit and any government student loans don't all behave the same way, and you have some options in how you manage them. Now, depending on where you are located, a portion or all of your government student loans may be interest-free. For everyone across the country, all federal student loans are interest-free. And in some provinces, the provincial student loans are interest-free. However, some are at an interest rate of anywhere from prime to prime plus 2%. The standard is usually about prime plus 2%. So it can be difficult to understand your options with these, but because the government student loans do have some tax write-off options that come with them. However, when it comes to paying that interest rate of prime plus, and you've got a student line of credit that's got your interest rate of prime minus 0.25%, you're much better off consolidating those student loans that are costing you interest onto the line of credit. But be careful not to consolidate those ones that are interest-free, because you're losing out on doing that. As a matter of fact, you do not want to rush to pay off those student loans that are interest-free at all. It's not costing you anything, so take as long as possible to do that. Now, important to understand what's going to happen to your line of credit too when you graduate, and what are the options there. Results may vary just depending on which institution you're with, but a lot of it is going to be dependent on your credit standing now and the employment and credit history you're able to build up in the first couple of years as you begin working. That's what the banks will call a grace period that you have between now and converting your student line of credit into a regular line of credit. Now, when it's a regular line of credit, most banks now are offering that same prime minus 0.25%. And the ideal goal would be to keep that rate, because that's the best rate out there right now. If someone not in your field were to go to apply for a line of credit, even if they secured it against assets, they wouldn't get a rate as good as what you get and qualify for as dental students. So keeping your credit in good standing and keeping access to that, provided you manage it well, is a very valuable tool you can keep with you through life. So definitely recommend managing your credit well to be able to do. Now, with that being said, let's talk a bit about some real numbers here. At today's rates, we're going to call it roughly, it's somewhere between 4 and 4.5% on a line of credit. We're 4.2 right now at prime minus 0.25, but rates are fluctuating. That's about $11,000 to $15,000 per year in interest alone on average for incomes. That's before you even touch principal. Okay. So the natural instinct is, well, I need to get rid of that as fast as possible. If the rates continue the natural instinct is to get rid of this as fast as possible. And there's a lot of logic to that. Every dollar you're going to put towards debt is a guaranteed return. Okay. In this case, that return is 4.5% that you're saving in interest. There's no risk, there's no volatility, and you're improving your balance sheet immediately. So one strategy early on could be live a bit lean for a few years, keep expenses under control, and aggressively pay that debt down. For example, imagine a new dentist just starting out, planning to buy a home in the next couple of years, maybe starting a family. For them, reducing debt quickly will improve their ability to borrow for things like mortgages. It'll reduce financial stress, and it'll create stability going into that next stage of life. So that's one very rational approach, but it's not the only one. And Andrea, if you don't mind switching slides for me. Because at the exact same time, I'm now going to give you the exact opposite advice. Start investing as early as possible. And this comes down to compound. For example, if you can see here, if you invest $1,000 a month starting at age 25 versus waiting to age 35 to start, that 10-year delay could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars by retirement. Time in the market matters more than timing in. So historically, long-term investment returns might be in the range of 6 to 8%. So if your debt costs 4.5% and your investments can grow at 6.6 to 8%, there's a financial argument for investing, even while you're carrying debt. So let's imagine a different dentist from that last scenario. Someone who's single, renting, not planning to buy a home in the immediate future, and interested in owning a practice down the road. For them, the priority might be starting to invest early, building assets, taking advantage of compounding over time. They may be comfortable carrying some debt longer because they're focused on growing net worth, not just reducing liabilities. So now we've given you two very rational approaches. One's focused on eliminating debt quickly, and one's focused on building wealth early. And both can work. So how do you decide which path or what combination is right for you? You could change slides. This really isn't an either or decision. It's really about prioritizing based on your own unique situation. Because what makes sense for one of you might not make sense for someone else in the same position in life that you are. You might be balancing debt repayment, investing, buying a home, starting a family, practice ownership, or any other lifestyle goals. And all of these priorities are competing for the same dollars. So that's where we bring in the concept of financial planning. Financial planning really is about one thing: figuring out how to grow your net worth as efficiently as possible while still achieving your personal goals. And there's actually some strong data behind this. A Canadian study showed that households working with an advisor long-term had nearly 3 times the assets of those who didn't. And other research suggests good financial planning can add about 2 to 3% per year in value over time. Now, that value doesn't come just from picking better investments. More so, it comes from making better decisions, structuring things properly, and staying on track over time. And that's where we at CDSPI are different. All of our advisors, such as myself, are non-commissioned, certified financial planners with the CFP credentials. That's the gold standard in the industry. So our goal is to provide tailored financial advice as part of your membership, and that comes at no cost or obligation. Really, the focus here isn't on selling you products. It's on helping you build a plan that actually gets you where you want to be. Because whether you lean more towards paying down debt, investing early, or more than likely a combination of both, the right combination, the important thing is having a strategy that fits your life and evolves and changes as your priorities change.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mike and Julie.